So, a very, very warm welcome to everyone who is joining us today for our Live Well Live webinar. Just for introductions, for those that don't know me, I am Ruth Taylor. I'm a nutritionist with Boots Online Doctor and also a registered nurse and health and wellness coach. We're going to be looking all about the how to eat today. So please do bring along your questions. If you've got them already, please pop them into the Q&A box. And if they come up for you during the webinar, please feel free to add them during the webinar. Just to let you know, I am going to be joined shortly by Samantha Wellipelli. She is just finishing off in another important meeting that she couldn't leave, and she'll join us as soon as she is able. We're going to start by presenting some slides to you today, and then we'll take your questions. We generally run the slides for the first 20 to 30 minutes of the webinar, and then we come to your questions because we know that's really important. Do say hello in the chat box. I am based down in beautiful sunny Hampshire, and it's a lovely day. So my plan is to go for a walk when we finish today's webinar in my lunch break. You'll find the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. You will find the questions section. Please try as much as possible to put your questions in there. It makes it much easier for us to find them. We've also enabled an upvoting option. So if there are lots of questions today, then we will be able to see those that most of you really want us to put some attention to answering in case we can't answer all of them. And just to let you know, if you ask a question which sits outside of what we can answer safely, then we'll redirect you to the most relevant person to pick up that response from. Sometimes it may be something very personal to you in terms of your medical health, and we like to redirect you. It's not safe to pick up on that information in a webinar. So I think that's everything. I'm joined today by my colleague Raman, and I'm really grateful to have you here. Thank you so much for being here, Raman. Raman's here to help with any IT queries and to share any resources that we talk about today. So let's move on. So we were here a couple of weeks ago. We were here last week talking all about menopause, and then the week before we were talking about I think how to eat, no, the what to eat for weight loss. So it'd be really good to know what's going on for you guys. Have you got any sort of insights? Have you found out anything about yourself? Has anything gone well over the last week or so? We'd love to hear from you. Do let us know. Hello to Helen. Hello to everyone who's saying hello. Thanks for letting me know you can hear me. And please don't worry if you've missed any of the previous webinars. You can only see probably one photo at the moment. Don't worry. Sam, when Sam comes, you'll be able to see her. And yeah, so any good wins, anything happening for you in terms of your weight loss journeys that you'd love to share with other people, any insights? So, Jem, you've been drinking lots of water and eating more veg, and it really helps you. That's really good to hear. What's the help? Does it make you feel fuller? Does it make you feeling a little bit more in control? I'd love to know what's going on with that. And don't worry if you've missed previous webinars, we repeat them. We also have them nicely recorded for you, and we are able to share a link to the recordings. So, Raman, if you don't mind sharing that link, that would be great. But yeah, they're all there. Let's move on then. So, why are we talking about the how to eat? Why is this so important? Well, it's fascinating. And actually, some of the research these days is very much orientating us to understand that how we eat is just as important as what we eat. And this isn't something that we hear about that often on a day-to-day level. We get bombarded with different ideas of the foods that we can and we can't eat, what to avoid, what not to avoid, what to eat more of. But actually, who talks very much about this? So I wanted to talk a little bit about the circadian rhythm. So our circadian clock for all human beings operates on a 24-hour cycle. It's aligned with the light and dark periods of the day. It's really our body's internal timekeeper, and regulating those 24-hour cycles or biological processes is what's happening in our bodies all of the time. So it's really interesting when you look at the science of life and our daily clocks. This is fascinating. So what we know is that regular meal times help align us with our natural circadian rhythm. And if we align our meal times with that circadian rhythm, our light and dark cycles, we can really improve our insulin sensitivity. Now, we talk a lot about the importance of insulin sensitivity. We talked a lot about that in the How the What to Eat webinar. So do take a look at the recording if for any reason you missed that. We will pick up on that again, but actually thinking about insulin sensitivity, creating insulin sensitivity is a real key element to successful weight loss and maintenance of weight loss. So this is really, really interesting. If you manage to eat within the daylight hours, you are eating at a time when your body is more primed to being insulin sensitive. So this is always very difficult. We know now we've extended our days quite a long way beyond our natural cycles. We've got all sorts of amazing electrical appliances. We've got lights that we turn on. We extend our days way beyond the natural light and wake dark cycles. We know lots of us, including myself and Sam, have been shift workers. And so shift working means that we shift out of that day and night cycle really automatically because we're working a 24-hour clock shifts. But actually, our body is still very primitive, and how it works at its best is in those primitive light and dark cycles. So we need to be thinking about aligning our mealtime around that circadian cycle, that circadian rhythm, and that can really help advance and enhance our metabolic efficiency and support weight management. Eating aligned around that daylight supports our metabolism. So, really interesting. Insulin sensitivity is highest earlier in the day. So, how fascinating. We know all of this, but we don't use that science. So, now I want us to help with one another to use this science. So, if we eat early, it can really help to boost our weight loss. This is fascinating. Late night eating, on the other side of the coin, is associated with eating at a time when we have less insulin sensitivity, and that can be found to be disrupting our metabolic health. This is fascinating. So if we want successful long-term health and weight management, we need to be thinking about the circadian clock. We need to be working with where we naturally sit. So we need to be thinking, how do we reset that circadian clock? If you're somebody who's struggling to sleep, we have a whole webinar on sleep. If you're somebody who's a shift worker, then we need to be thinking about when the timing of those foods around your shifts fits best. But actually, we need to be thinking, okay, just for the people who generally aren't shift workers, how do you reset this? Well, generally, having a regular sleep and wake cycle can be really helpful at resetting your circadian clock. We want to get that natural light in the morning and reducing light exposure in the evening. That again can help to reset your circadian clock, and it can take a couple of weeks to get that reset working for you. If you are somebody who goes to bed naturally really, really late and finds it very difficult to go to sleep, then it's really worth putting some attention into this and thinking, okay, what can I learn from this? Is this something that's hampering my weight loss? Is this something that I'm eating later in the evening, so therefore I'm eating at a time when I'm less insulin sensitive? That means perhaps I'm going to be producing more insulin to really help with the digestion and the ability to manage the glucose in that meal. These are the things we need to start thinking about, and this is really helpful to be considering. I'm just going to see what anybody's thinking about. Okay, great. Let's move on. So, how do we think about this? The other thing to be thinking about is, okay, we're going to look at some of the other science around the how to eat. So, really interesting, lots of research out in the wide world now about time restricted eating. So, we wanted to pick up on this. It can be a really useful tool in helping people to lose body weight by aligning our intake of food around our natural hormonal cycles and also reducing calorie consumption overall. It also really aligns with helping insulin sensitivity, and this is a key component of successful long-term weight loss. We know that by eating in a time-restricted manner, we might reduce the amount of calories we eat overall, but actually it's more than that. It's so much more than that. It is more about resetting that insulin sensitivity. So we know that eating in a time restricted pattern can help to increase fat burning. We have longer fasting periods in which we deplete our glycogen stores. So fat reserves can be used for fuel, and that's really important. So it can help us to burn fat. This particularly happens when we've not eaten for 12 to 14 hours. So we need to be thinking, okay, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? What are we suggesting here? We want to really help to support you to move towards massive insulin sensitivity, leptin sensitivity, and also to help normalize your appetite and hunger hormones. We know that setting up a sort of time restricted eating pattern might feel really hard to begin with. So we would suggest for anyone who's eating across that sort of 24-hour period that you sort of bring it in as much as you can. Maybe start by thinking, okay, I'm going to eat for 12 hours. The fridge will open at 7 in the morning and it'll close at 7 at night. Or will it open at 9 in the morning and close at 9 at night? Obviously, earlier you can bring that closing off in the evening, the more around those daylight hours that make sense. You can relax the window slightly if you're on weight loss maintenance. But really, this is something that we want to all be thinking about as a long-term strategy for health, for reducing inflammation, for reducing the amount of insulin that we are having to produce across the day. And actually, the key thing here is that consistency matters more than anything. We don't want extremes. We want you to be thinking, okay, we often get asked about water fasting. We're not going to go into that today. That sits well and truly outside what we can safely talk about here to a large crowd of people. But we are thinking about 12-hour windows as being something to start with. Then, when you're really comfortable with that, you can break down that window a little bit further and say, right, I'm going to eat in a 14, I'm going to have a fast for 14 hours. So then we get more fat burning potential. I'm going to have a 10-hour eating window. And when that feels okay and you don't feel unwell and you feel really balanced and you wake up in the morning and you feel great, then you can maybe think about bringing that in further and having a 16-hour overnight fast and then an 8-hour eating window. If you don't understand what those windows mean, or if that doesn't make sense, please do ask. It really is important, and I'd be really interested to know how often you're eating now. I mean, are you eating one, two, three, four, 5 times a day? Are you eating 3 meals and 2 snacks? Are you eating lots of little bits? It's really interesting because this is really important. And these are the nuances of how this will work for people. So for people who are type 1 diabetics who take insulin, we know that this may be an area to really be cautious around. So we probably don't have many people in the room in that ballpark, but if you do, then we would recommend that you lean in and ask your medication providers if you're on any medication, talk to your GP, get some support around what would be safe for you to do. You may be very lucky to have some readouts of your blood sugars so you can actually track and look through those things. Well, this may be something that you're naturally doing anyway. So, and then moving on from that, we can think about alternate day fasting. Now, this might be something that isn't relevant for somebody who's taking a weight loss medication. We've looked at the science around whether weight loss medications and fasting work. So we know a 12-hour eating window is safe generically for most people. If you're thinking about cutting your calories down even further and doing alternate day fastings, this is probably more appropriate to those people who aren't taking weight loss medications, and there will be a few of you, I'm sure, in the audience today. So this is where you're thinking about intermittent calorie restrictions. So you might be dropping your calories really low on 2 or 3 days a week. And this was very popularized by the late Michael Mosley, but it was invented as a style of eating way, way in excess of our time, really and truly. It's something that's been around for many, many years. We know that intermittent calorie restriction means that on 2 or 3 days a week, you eat your sort of standard required basal metabolic rate requirement of calories. If you don't know how to calculate your basal metabolic rate, we can share a link for you to work out how many calories your body sort of generally would be beneficial to eat in a healthy state. And then 2 or 3 days a week, you would drop your calories down to 600 to 800. This can be a really helpful way for really metabolic adaptation, really helping your metabolic health adjust and adapt. But it can also be really helpful for helping with insulin sensitivity and also for weight loss. And the whole premise of this is because you're counting calories, you're reducing your calories down over several days. So this isn't our core way of eating, but it is something that can be helpful. And if you're stuck or on a plateau or feeling a bit demoralized, or you've got, just need something different. We all need different things. We get bored doing what we're doing. This can be an option to consider. It's not for everyone, but it can get you away from that feeling of monotony and deprivation, because on the days that you're not reducing your calories, you can maybe have those flexible days where you eat a few things that you would generally be avoiding all of the week. So it can just give you some flexibility if you've got times coming up, you've got parties or birthdays or family holidays. This might be an approach to consider. And the research really, really supports that. We also want to bring your attention to the importance of chewing, and this is something I talk about quite a lot, really. So, we know that many of us tend to eat when we're sitting in front of our laptops or maybe watching the TV. If that's you, you're not alone at all. And this isn't about criticizing ourselves, this is about bringing awareness. So we want to be thinking about mindfully eating and eating in a way where we're not rushed and we're not rushing our digestion. Chewing is the first mechanical step in our digestive process. And if we chew our food well, it becomes easier to break down and to digest. That not only helps with our nutritional absorption of our food, but also can help with increasing hormone sensitivity, including our appetite and hunger hormones. So that's really important. There's a lot of research out there about which foods we should eat first. And actually, all of the research I've read is actually you either want to have your protein component of your food first, so start with a bite of protein, or the fiber-rich foods, so those green or colourful vegetables. The thinking behind that is that that can really help in terms of insulin sensitivity as well. But you want to be chewing each and every one of your mouthfuls until all of that food is really pulped down to a mush or like a baby food consistency. The other side to this coin is that you want to be leaving 4 or 5 hours between each time you eat so that your gut has time to reset and you can adequately digest the meal that you've just enjoyed before you have your next meal. We have something that happens in our guts called the motor migrating complex, and that's where we sweep our guts clean and we get rid of all the debris. If we don't allow time between our meals, we really can find it difficult to get rid of all of the debris that we want to get rid of. We also want to be thinking about meal timing in terms of sleep. So the suggestion is actually for optimal digestion, for supporting good sleep quality, we want to be eating 2 or 3 hours before we go to sleep. So this is really interesting. I'd be really interested to hear if anybody has any strong thoughts around this. So Sam is here, I can see. So let's get her up and in the meeting as well. So Sam, let's get you here. Brilliant. Thank you so much for being here, and sorry you got caught up elsewhere. I was just talking, I'm sure you heard hopefully, about digestion and the importance of that rest and the digestion, the 4 to 5 hours between meals. Anything you'd want to add there, Sam?
Hello everyone. Thank you for having me and excuse me for being late. Thank you, Ruth, for holding the fort. Um, yes, in terms of chewing, it's such a brilliant thing to be emphasizing on this weight loss journey, really chewing, getting the best out of our food, having that time between meals. And I think what that also gives us is that break from snacking, if we're sort of conscious about that time where our body is digesting. And actually, if we're even on a weight loss medication, we know that our digestion is slightly slowed. So, and not everyone is welcome, whether you're on a medication or not. This information is very relevant if you're on a weight loss journey. But we know that when you've got a GLP-1 on board, your digestion is likely to be a little bit slowed, which is why we get some of us can suffer with a bit of indigestion, why our portion size needs to really be looked at when we're using this medication because we have that feeling of fullness. And really chewing, enjoying our food, having that mindful attitude. So when we chew, we're really tasting our food, we're really savoring every bite. And maybe we're giving ourselves time to notice those satiety signals as well. I'm full, I don't need to eat anymore, and it's okay that there's food still on the plate. I can put that in some Tupperware and put it in the fridge, and that's fine. It sort of many things tie into this motto of chew, chew, chew.
Very much so. And I was also thinking it can also really bring our attention to hunger. And sometimes we feel hunger when we're not hungry. It can be an emotional hunger, it can be a stress hunger, it can be because we're really tired and we're suddenly feeling hungry. And maybe that's actually just a really good way of actually beginning to tune in to where that hunger is coming from. Is it physical hunger or is there a different type of hunger that's compelling you to want to eat between meals? Or do you need to stop and have a look at what you've actually eaten to see that it's that plate is balanced? So let's bring up our lovely core meal eating plan. So Raman, if you could share the core meal eating plan and also the core GLP-1 eating plan and the protein content of foods. These are the areas we really want you to put some attention to make sure you're balancing your plates, to make sure you're getting that protein in with every meal. And we're sort of very keen for you to be starting off that journey with around 1 gram per kilogram of your current body weight of protein per day. You break that down across those meals. So if that's not something we've talked to you about today, or you've not heard before and you want any questions, pop them into the Q&A box around that. So thanks, Raman. So let's move on. Sam, do you want to? We've really covered this, but do you want to just pick up on anything here?
I think you've covered it already, that this sort of slowing down a little as we can. I know that we all have busy lives and sometimes lunch break is very rushed, or we're sort of eating on the go. But as much as we can to be conscious around when we do sit down to those meals, when we do have the opportunity to really enjoy a meal, even if it's a work lunchtime, you know, sitting at a table, eating mindfully, enjoying the textures, the taste, the different flavors within every mouthful, and chewing those foods down to that sort of baby food consistency to help our whole body absorb all the goodness from every meal, from every mouthful.
Yeah, very much so. Maybe just check around your family and see who are the fast eaters. Are you one of the first people to finish, or is someone else? And maybe it's just about everybody slowing down a little bit more, enjoying the occasion, bringing that chewing on board for everyone. Yeah. And that snacking, Sam. I think we've picked up on this, but why? Why do we say avoid snacking?
Yeah. So we talk about sort of trying to avoid eating between meals because it can reintroduce that kind of creeping in of extra unnecessary calories. And we don't talk about calories a lot, but it does illustrate the point of sort of unnecessary things, having them between meals. So making sure that every meal is balanced, using the core eating plan, using the GLP-1 meal builder, to make sure you've got that protein, you've got the fiber, you've got some healthy carbohydrates on there, some maybe some healthy fats in there too. You know, that meal should sustain you for that time. And the portion is big enough for you to sustain you till your next meal. Okay. And we must remember also that liquid calories and alcohol, we have to be aware around these things. These are common causes of weight regain. You know, there's all these fancy coffees out there now with all sorts of sweet syrups and flavorings, and even, you know, an enormous amount of of milks, whether they're plant milks or otherwise. You know, these all do contain calories. And we don't talk about calories that much. I don't like laboring the point, but it is a measure of energy, let's say, an energy supply that we're probably not really conscious that it does contain because it just feels like a drink. So it's, you know, we're allowed to have it. But just be aware around those things, okay? And that each time you eat or have a sugary drink, um, your body needs to create some insulin, right? So it needs to create that insulin to pack away the blood sugar that has increased during that following the digestion of that meal or that snack or that drink. So this is our advice to not snack and to follow that low glycemic eating core meal plan. So when we're following a more low GI plan, we are stabilizing our blood sugars over the day. We're really looking for that smooth curve of movement of blood sugar. There will be some shift over the day, but we don't want those big peaks and low troughs where we get those sugar dips and we start feeling grotty and irritable and hangry. And, because we've just had, for example, a bag of jelly sweets, that will be digested so fast and increase your blood sugar absolutely, you know, at a rate of knots. And you'll very quickly, your insulin will also peak to tidy it away. It can overshoot the mark, and then you end up actually high with a low sugar, which is what makes you hangry and searching around for another sugary snack to get your sugars back up. Okay. So yeah, so it's not about being restrictive, it's about being deliberate in your choices. So if you're planning your snacks, if you need that, and we're all different, if you do need a snack 2 hours after a main meal, plan it rather than sort of just seeing what's around and grazing. So then it becomes more of a conscious act. Okay. In a maintenance situation, this becomes more about noticing hunger than following the rules. So some days you may need more, sometimes you may need less, depending maybe on your activity levels, what you're doing that day. So just noticing and bringing in that time that we spend being more mindful about our meals, noticing when we feel full, also noticing when we're hungry and when we're actually hungry and not sort of craving something that is not really a response to hunger. It's more maybe an emotional reaching out for food, maybe for a different reason than hunger. So maybe it's comfort, maybe it's because we're stressed and we're wanting something to soothe us. So there's a lot here. Have a think because we're all different. We're all in a different position. We all have different triggers for sometimes veering off the path that we want to stay on. So hopefully this slide sort of uh, gives you some food for thought, excuse the pun.
Very much so. We'll pick up on your comments in a minute when we come to your Q&A. So I think you've already mentioned drinks. So I think that's really important. But also don't forget about the artificial sweeteners in drinks. We know from looking at the research that artificial sweeteners, while they have no calorie requirement, they will produce an insulin response just because they are giving your body the message that it's having something sweet. So primitively, we're still very primitive in how our bodies respond to taste. So it will expect to have some sugar. And when that happens, we'll then have to create an insulin response. And then we'll end up with a dip because we haven't had any sugar. So it's sort of like the whole story becomes really complex and confusing. So, and also sweeteners without calories have been found to activate our reward pathway in our brain. And this can lead to an increase in appetite. So that's really worrying and concerning. So we would say try and avoid those artificial sweeteners as much as you can. If they're part and parcel of everyday life for you, really think about where you can begin to bring those down. We know that alcohol is thought to lead to weight gain due to the need to detoxify alcohol from your system. So if you're working on that process of your liver using your liver to detoxify the alcohol, your liver will not be burning fat for you. So we also use that whole burning of fat happens through our liver as well. So that's lipolysis. So those two things can be in conflict with one another. We also know that some alcohol consumption can be linked to an increased amount of visceral fat, which is the less healthy fat that we carry around our organs. So we really want to be thinking, okay, alcohol can be something that we do enjoy, but where does that fit in? And maybe we want to be thinking about that in moderation or just thinking about where those events might happen rather than it being a standard everyday thing, which I'm sure for many people it is, and for others it isn't. We're all very different. Again, in maintenance, this isn't meaning never, it just means just take a step back, really think about what happens to your hunger. If you're drinking alcohol, is it something that really boosts you to have the munchies and then everything goes off plan forever? We need to be really careful. And then thinking about drinks, water, so those clear fluids, water, maybe herbal or fruit teas or some green tea, some nice flavored water with some mint leaves or some lemon in. has been really found to help support weight management. So if that's something that you need to put a little bit more attention in, there's a lot of evidence coming out now that actually drinking 1 or 2 glasses of water before a meal can really help support appetite and weight maintenance. And so it really is thinking about, okay, what can I do differently? What's going to boost me? What's going to get me where I want to be?
Um, Thanks, Ruth. So this slide is all about maintenance success. So I think, have we done the poll? Where do we know where people are on their
No, we
journey?
could do that now, couldn't we?
Yeah, let's do that. So we've just got a little poll. Just let us know where you are in your journey, whether you're right at the beginning, whether you're in the middle, or whether you are in maintenance or approaching maintenance. Because what is happening now as these GLP-1 drugs have been around for some time, we are seeing more and more people entering, reaching their goal weight and wanting to obviously maintain their goal weight. And there's obviously some anxiety about stopping medication if you've used a medication to get there, and what to do really, and what to do in terms of all your habits. So what Ruth and I and the rest of the lifestyle medicine team here at Boots talk about a lot is how when you are on a medication for weight loss, and not everyone has to be on a medication for weight loss, but I'm just talking to that at the moment. Um, what it can do, it can really dim down or turn the volume down on food noise, on that constant thinking about food, thinking about food, thinking about food. And what we're always talking about is use the space that that gives you to focus on the things that we're talking about, on the mindful eating, on looking at your low glycemic approach to food, on balancing your blood sugars over the day, on really looking at how you can change, swap out habits in your life, in your daily life that have led you to a place that you weren't unhappy with your weight, to a place now where you've achieved something, you've really, got to a phase where you want to maintain what you've achieved, um, and you've got the habits in place that are going to support you along the way. Okay. We really want to encourage to like redefinition of the success when you're in maintenance. Everything we've discussed today remains very relevant. So you're still chewing your food, you're still trying to avoid snacking between meals, and if you do snack between meals, it's something you've planned. So you've got, an apple and a small handful of walnuts with you, and that is your snack because you know that, gosh, I've got a busy day, it's going to be really blooming stressful. I'm going to need to eat something, and I've planned for that. That's fine. That's great. And it doesn't all go out the window once we have made it to our goal. That's really key. And it might sound so simplistic, but it is, unfortunately, the stats on weight rate regain are really not good. So we really want to use a period of time where we have been freed from that food noise and that kind of um, preoccupation with food, use that time to start really focusing on making those new habits, on changing the way we identify ourselves, the way we feel about ourselves, that we are someone that doesn't snack, that doesn't indulge as often as we might have before. We're really looking at that 80-20 rule. 80% of the time we stay on track, 20% of the time we can do those other things that we know are not really supporting our health or weight loss goals, but life is there to be enjoyed also. So we want you to
Okay.
enjoy 80% of the time, of course, but it's looking at food in a different way. Okay.
The fun of life. And don't forget, the polls are completely anonymous, so we don't know who's answering what. I can see from the poll that the majority of people are either just starting on their journeys or midway through. So that's really helpful for us to know, sort of like 45 and 44% in that case, and around 11% of the people here who've answered the poll are in maintenance. So well done to you as well. I mean, it's great to have you here, and please do ask any questions if there's something we haven't covered that you're querying. So, Sam, let's move on.
Yeah.
So, yes, just a quick recap of what to focus on this week. Um, we're now thinking about rhythm, not restriction. We're thinking, okay, what are we going to do? What's the key things here? What are we going to do about our circadian rhythm? Is there something that we can do differently in terms of when we put our food in, when we eat? Are we going to be thinking more about aligning with daylight hours? Are you going to be doing some time restricted eating? Are you going to be thinking about bringing it into a 12-hour window where the kitchen is open and the kitchen is closed? Or are you going to take it down even further? I'd be really interested to hear. Are you going to be focusing on chewing more and really supporting your digestion? Are you thinking about your drinks? Are you going to be thinking, okay, I'm going to cut down on all of those artificial sugars. I'm perhaps going to drink less of those coffees with added syrups in. What are you going to do differently? This is not a competition. This is absolutely, hopefully, giving you time to really think about the things that might be tripping you up on your journeys, or the things that actually, if you make that change, could really accelerate how well you feel, your energy, and also support you to lose weight as well. So, what about you, Sam? Anything you're going to do differently this week? Or are you on it?
Well, no, none of us is perfect, me included. So I'm definitely, I think, actually taking some of my own advice about consciousness around snacks. I've got a few long drives over this week, and that's always a bit of a danger zone for me. If it's a long drive, I get bored, and I can snack in the car very easily. So having something a bit healthier by my side, I have, yeah, like trail mix or something like that will be a
I
better.
found a really nice trail mix with some little bits of dark chocolate in the other day. It's very nice. So I
Nice.
recommend it. Okay, thank you to everyone. So I can see from the poll that the majority of people, the biggest answer is that people are going to be eating within a defined amount of time. Well done to those of you. Let us know next week how you get on. A lot of you are going to be chewing more and consciously reducing snacking are our top answers. So thank you for that. Just to let you know when we're going to be here over the next few weeks, we're back on Monday next week. We're going to be talking all about how to get the best from GLP-1s for those of you who are taking medications. And then we're going to be looking at how you support your metabolism the following week on the 18th. And then we're going to be looking at protein. We're going to talk all about protein because we spend a lot of time talking about protein during the webinars. So we've decided it's time we talked just about protein. So we're now going to come to your questions. We've set up this upvoting, so we'll have a look at the upvotes as well. Have you got that on yours as well, Sam? I've got it on mine. I could read out the questions if there's any confusion. Yeah. Um, Somebody is saying, why have I only lost 1 pound upon entering my fourth month on Manjaro, and when I will I see more results? That sounds like you're really frustrated. So thank you for asking that question. And 6 people have liked it. So I guess there's a few people in the room who are feeling equally frustrated. Sam, what would you say? I would say weight loss isn't linear. It doesn't quite happen as we expect, but that does sound frustrating. A pound and 4 months. For some reason I can't hear you, Sam. I think you might be muted.
I'm sorry. Apologies. Have you noticed any change at all? Have you noticed that your appetite is reduced, that you're eating less, or are you just noticing nothing from the drug? That's what I would ask. I would also think, okay, 4 months, I would expect to see more movement on the scale, but has there been movement, say, do your clothes fit differently? Are you noticing difference around your waist? Are you noticing any other differences, sort of softer signs rather than numbers on the scale? There's another thing to just mention with these drugs. They don't work for everybody, which is, because we are all very different, and for some reason, for some people, they don't have the same effect. You're 4 months in, so I assume you've gone up every month. Perhaps if you've had no side effects and you've had no effect either, you've probably increased your dose. So you might have one more dose to go or two. Which is your choice. If you're noticing no change at all, it might be that you're in that group of people who the medication doesn't affect. But I would look at those softer signs and notice, has it made any difference to your appetite at all? Because that's its mode of action.
Yeah, very much so. And if you want to let us know any more information, then please do. Or if you are a Boots Online Doctor customer, patient, whatever you call yourself, please do write in. And one of our weight loss team will pick up that question and hopefully give you some more specific, personalized advice. Really, really sorry to hear that you're struggling.
Mm.
It's really worth, maybe I would suggest keeping a food and symptom diary and just seeing how food is landing for you. What foods are making you feel energized, which foods perhaps are making you feel less great, how you feel when you wake up in the morning. Really maybe put some attention to whether you're drinking enough and whether you're really nailing that protein. We know that weight loss medications can be really helpful, but they're not a miracle cure. And that's why we run these webinars, because we know it can be really frustrating story for a lot of people. So if you have any more information and want to ask any more questions, please do. And hopefully we can give you some guidance. Somebody has said this is really long. I'm not sure if you can see this. Somebody said, I thought Manjaro was amazing. I lost 3 stone in around 18 months. Realistically, all the weight came off in the first half of that, and then it sort of stopped working, but stopped me eating. I've been off it now for 6 weeks, and the feed noise has come back like never before. It's 24 hours non-stop. I'm having daily battles with myself, and I'm not winning the battle. What can I do to stop thinking about food? It's stressing me out. I've put a stain back on and I'm trying to get half of that back off. I need help. Thank you. And we are, I'm sure both of us really sorry to hear this. We really, I think, Sam, you said this before, we know that the reality is when we stop weight loss medications, that the food noise is very likely to come back. And the research says that actually it can come back with a vengeance. You can really, really be overwhelmed by how bad that food noise is. We know that that is part and parcel of some of these weight loss medications for some people, not necessarily for everyone. So it is about having that plan in place. It is about following the core meal plan that will work for you if you follow it by the letter. So really weigh yourself, work out how much protein you need, and really get that protein in 2 or 3 meals a day. And if you're really struggling with hunger all of the time, make sure you're getting that minimum of 1 gram of protein per kilogram. Depending on your life phase and any other health issues that you may or may not have, you may be able to take that a little bit higher. So if you're managing all of that protein, you could go up to 1.2 grams per kilogram. If you're still feeling hungry on that 1 gram per kilogram, really get that protein, really fill your plate with vegetables. You want half a plate of colourful vegetables. They bring fibre. Fibre really helps you to feel full. Is really important. And then layer in a little bit of healthy fat, say some olive oil, some olives, some nuts, anything that you like that is a healthy fat, really get it in there. And really, maybe put in a few rules around food. That can be really hard. Maybe drink lots of water between meals to really help with satiety and, to calm your appetite down, or even hot water. So, that can have a really nice satiating effect. Maybe start a meal with like a vegetable soup. So you really fill yourself up and then have your meal. So you're really working to battle this situation. It will calm down over time. We know this can be really hard. Um, I hope that helps. Sam, anything you want to add?
No, I think you've covered it, Ruth. I think going back to basics and really starting with building your plate because that's, you're going to lose or gain weight on the plate really, and you're going to add in exercise and muscle building and all of that stuff, but the fundamentals is the plate, right? So having those things in so that they are automatic habits, and the hopefully the hope is that the food noise will fade as you're in a routine that satisfies you, that you're enjoying as well, and it's really key that you enjoy your food, because that's, what's the point otherwise? It's not with, the whole point of losing weight and feeling better in yourself also means that you still enjoy your meals. It's not that that's out the window now for good, for sure. But we're adapting what kind of food brings you the same joy.
Yeah. And I would also just do one final check-in, and you're brilliant with this, Sam. Is, we are the stories we tell ourselves. So if we constantly tell ourselves this is going to be really difficult, and we really aren't underplaying how difficult this is, but if that is a message we're giving ourselves, it can be really hard. So also maybe just try and do some distraction find some things that bring you pleasure that aren't food and try and give yourself a bit of distraction.
Yeah. Like other things, what other things bring you joy other than food-based things? Like is it, now that summer is coming, hopefully, is it being out and about? Is it friends? Is it your children? Is it your pets? Is it singing? What is it? Like other things that bring you joy that you can focus on and that you can, really put your energy into.
Okay. I think maybe I've created a bit of confusion around the circadian rhythm and insulin sensitivity in relation to intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting really works with insulin sensitivity. So actually it's a plus and a bonus. It can really help support insulin sensitivity. So yes, I think you just need to consider where you are, what your personal story is, whether you're taking a medication, and really how you feel best. I think we want to help you feel a sense of energy as well, through whatever approach you take. So if you're taking a medication, we would say start with a 12-hour eating window. So you have 12 hours where you don't eat, 12 hours where you can have those 2 or 3 meals, giving some time between meals to allow you to do that resting and digesting. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think with the intermittent fasting, we're sort of talking about time, like eating windows in the day, aren't we, Ruth? We're talking about 12
Yeah.
hours in the day. So we're not talking about skipping days of eating or anything like that, especially if you have anything insulin sensitivity or pre-diabetes or diabetes, anything like that. You're still eating for 12 hours of the day. You're still able to eat in those 12 hours, but it's you're giving yourself a good 12-hour fast overnight, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Just close the fridge at 8 p.m. Don't start eating till 8 a.m. It really works. I find that sort of like psychology of the fridge is closed really helps me as well. So we're human too, aren't we? Somebody's saying they've just started taking Manjaro, and there's a couple of questions around collagen. Is collagen useful to take alongside a weight loss journey, alongside a weight loss medication? Um, I think I've started diving into the research around collagen. Sam, have you had a chance to have a look at the research at all?
I have not, Ruth. What have you discovered?
Yeah, I think there is a mild, there appears to be a mild benefit, but I will carry on looking
Is
at
it a benefit to
that.
skin or sort of,
I
skin condition,
think
obviously, as we
that
lose
was
weight?
that's a great question. And actually, I think actually for many people who are overweight, skin elasticity can be a problem because we can stretch our skin and we might find that the inflammation related to being overweight may cause us to not have that sort of same elasticity in our skin. So collagen may be something that can help with that skin elasticity. So that's one of the positives I think I found in my first foray into deep diving into the research. Somebody else in the chat box has just mentioned, and somebody's saying it's helped with their facial skin. I think from what I have read so far, marine collagen seems to have the most beneficial effect in terms of elasticity in our skin. And we know that many people who are on a weight loss journey complain about sagging skin. So we know that there may be some correlation to being beneficial. Somebody else has just mentioned creatine. And again, my preliminary research is that that can be helpful, but it's not a for everyone. There are people, if you're somebody with kidney problems or on a variety of prescribed medication, you would want to be really cautious about adding in any other supplements of any type without checking with a medical professional and getting that one-to-one advice. So this isn't generic for everyone. There will be some people here today that would not be safe for us to be thinking about recommending. Yeah. Somebody's mentioning, yeah, we won't go into specific brands because that would be inappropriate, I think. Somebody is saying, is kefir beneficial? We love kefir, don't we?
Yeah, kefir is great. Water kefir, all the yogurty stuff. I think it's more beneficial really with kind of for the gut microbiome. I'm not sure about the research in terms of weight loss. But if it was a yogurt kefir, then obviously there's a bit of protein in there as well, and some nice good bacteria, friendly bacteria for your gut. Anything else you want to add to that? Is there evidence for weight loss?
I think it's too soon to know whether there's any beneficial effect for weight loss. We know that some of their gut microbiome. Some of the beneficial bacteria are meant to be more helpful for weight loss than others. I don't think I've seen any kefir products that specifically promote it as being beneficial for weight loss, but it's a nice drink and it's got health benefits. So, and there's some really interesting research about the gut microbiome and weight loss. So there are correlations between that way, I would think. We do have a webinar that will probably run later on in the year about the microbiome and weight loss, but it's quite specialist, not for everybody. Some people aren't wanting to listen to that. Somebody's saying, should we change the time we eat between summer and winter? Do the changing day due to the changing day length? Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I've not looked at any research around the summer and winter patterns and the reduction in day, but I guess everything I've read is that our metabolic health works more effectively in daylight hours. It makes sense, maybe, for us to be thinking about that in terms of autumn, winter, and whether we should be eating earlier, having more sleep, hibernating for longer. I'm not sure. Sam, have you read anything?
I guess it would make sense. That's probably what our ancestors would have done, really, isn't it? What would have had more sleep and probably, made the most of the daylight in the winter and then yeah. But it's quite a dramatic change, I suppose. It would make your eating window very short indeed, which we wouldn't advocate. I would stick with your 12-12 and whatever suits you really. But you just, when we're talking about time restricted eating, it's the window that you want to look at and just maintaining the window just to give your body a break. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. Like 12-12 should be pretty doable for most people, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's a really great follow-on question. So somebody's saying they don't feel hungry until about 4 p.m. So when I'm busy, I don't think to eat. Should I be forcing my body to retrain by eating when I'm not hungry? I love that question because it makes us think.
Hmm. Should you? But I guess then you would. But then are you eating sort of from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock and then going to bed
Yeah.
at 10:30? Which then I would question that. Or are you like a shift worker and maybe you're going to work at 11 or something? How does it work for you? Because I would I would say, don't force yourself to eat. We don't want you to force anything. But what are you having in the day? Are you drinking at least? Are you having some clear fluids in the morning when you get up, or even just like a piece of fruit or something in the morning? Anything, ideally I'd say a piece of fruit with some walnuts or something. Something, just a bit of protein in the morning just to get your system going a little bit. It doesn't have to be a huge meal. It could just be something small. I think 4 is quite late, but then you might be a shift worker, so I don't know the full story. Um, I probably, would want you to have a good break between your last meal or the last thing you eat and going to
Okay.
bed.
We've got some clarity. So normally starts like at 7 a.m. and drinks water. I would say it might be that you're really busy. And so when you're really busy, your digestion almost can go into sort of just like on the back burner, if you like, and maybe you don't have the sensation of being hungry. I guess if it's working for you, you feel energetic, you feel vibrant, you're managing to lose weight and it's working for you, great. Maybe that's working for you. We are all so different. If, though, you're not feeling great, you're not vibrant, you're not losing weight, then it would definitely be worth thinking about changing that and seeing whether eating earlier in the day would be a benefit to you. See how you go, let us know. And we are so different. There are some people who do really well just eating one meal a day consistently, but that generally doesn't suit most people. Uh, okay, I saw somebody say something in the chat box which I thought we should pick up. Somebody's saying they've got terrible heartburn and nothing seems to ease it. I'm also on Manjaro. Please, if you're a Boots Online Doctor customer, can you email in and we will give you some one-to-one advice. Yeah, we really don't want you to be experiencing significant heartburn. Somebody is asking about protein shakes. I've seen that in a couple of places. Can we use protein shakes to help boost protein? We would say start with protein, try and nail food orientated protein. And if you are using a protein powder, try and go for the one with less of the sort of less natural ingredients in. There are a couple on the Boots website that you can have a look at that are relatively clean proteins to think about. We're not against them. I think in terms of what we know about them is they don't land in a digestive sense in quite the same way. They might help you feel full and keep you steady and help you reach that protein level, which is great. In terms of insulin sensitivity, they don't have quite the same effect because they are effectively a processed food. Would you agree, Sam? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Ruth.
great. Over to you, Sam.
I'm just looking through. There's so many questions. Okay, so
Go on the most upvotes, you can go for most you can choose over on the right hand side of the Q&A box. Sorry everyone. There's a most recent and there's then you can click on that and it gives you the most upvotes.
aha, there we go. Okay. Um, well, someone
Get
wanted
the
to know
idea.
if they should increase their dose of I think these questions are very specific about medications. You're best off asking someone who is prescribing to you. So if you're a Boots Online Doctor customer, you can very simply message us in. We'll also give you advice automatically about increasing your dose. It will depend on how much weight you've lost, what's going on with you. There's several factors to consider. So probably not best to answer that here. How many calories or percentage of calories should we be aiming to reduce by for our total calorie need in order to lose weight safely? Okay, so what you can do, we don't talk about calories much, but you can look at calories if that's what you're used to. But generally, we don't want you counting calories for the rest of your life. So we could share with you the BMR calculator, your basal metabolic rate calculator tool. If you calculate that will give you the calories that you need to maintain just as you are sort of just to sort of stay alive. These are the calories that you need every day. Then if you then plug in, there's a calculation you can do. It's very simple, and the website will do it for you. You add in how much activity you do every day, and that will give you another number. You can take, for example, for most people, taking 500 calories off that total will be fine. And then you will have a calorie deficit every day.
Brilliant.
Okay. But really, as we know, you could have a giant bowl of broccoli and a tiny bowl of jelly sweets, and they would be equivalent in calories. Okay. And the broccoli would also have all minerals and fiber and lots of phytonutrients and loads of good things, whereas the jelly sweets will just be sugar and gelatin. So just have a think because calories are can be a bit um they don't have enough depth really to make sound judgments. But if you're used to that, it's good to have a rough idea of what calories equate to, I guess, what it looks like on your plate.
Okay, somebody's asking about constipation. Any hints? We do, again, write into your provider if this is something that's seriously afflicting you. Do write in and let your provider know things you can think about today, making sure you're well hydrated, adding in some soaked flax or linseeds or chia seeds and popping those into your meal. Soak them overnight so they become quite gelatinous. Maybe start with half to 1 tablespoon of those. And the other thing that can be really helpful is kiwi fruits. And it doesn't seem to matter whether that's with skin on or skin off, but they can be helpful. I would say if you can tolerate the skin on, there's a little bit more fiber there. But yes, maybe 2 to 4 kiwi fruits and see how you get on. But do get hold of a healthcare provider if that's going on for a long time. Someone's saying they're really hungry when they go to bed if they're restricting their eating. We don't want you to feel hungry. And yes, we would say have a healthy snack before bed. Say something like a little bit of Greek yogurt with some berries, maybe a couple of nuts in there as well, or a couple of oat cakes with some nut butter on. Just something that can
Yeah.
really just take the edge off. And we know that for some people that can really help make all the difference and also improve their quality of sleep. So, yes.
Someone here, I haven't lost any weight with Manjaro for a year, just now going to the top dose, which I'm hoping will work. Do I just have no chance? If it's been a whole year and you've not lost any weight on Manjaro, I would be really looking at that because you don't want to be throwing, it's a lot of money to invest in something. have you noticed any other changes, like your mood? Have you noticed your dress sizes changing? Because if you've been on it a year, I don't know how active you are. Perhaps you're sort of building muscle at the same time because muscle is heavier than fat. So, yeah, at a certain point, the changes on the scales are not so useful to be tracking. Um, you're going up to the top dose. I wonder if you're noticing a change in your appetite. Are you noticing side effects or any effect at all? Um, and it's not that you don't have a chance. It might be that you know, Manjaro is just not the right medication for you, and that you know, for some reason it doesn't work for everybody. We have to keep this in mind. Um, I'm guessing if you haven't lost any weight, you haven't gained any weight, which is positive. Um, it might be that increasing to the next dose will be beneficial, but I would definitely be reporting that to whoever is prescribing for you because they should be supporting you if you're not
Yeah,
if you're on medication for a long time, they should be helping you to you know, even advising perhaps this is not the right thing for you and try something different or you know, giving you other ideas.
very much so. And do come along to the next couple of webinars. Hopefully, we can give you some more helpful advice to follow. I want to just pick up on this before we finish. Somebody saying they don't eat much. Would that affect weight loss? Yes, absolutely. We know for those people who aren't eating enough, your body will also go into something called starvation mode. So it's going to hold on to your reserves because it thinks you are, under attack or being starved or in a situation where there isn't food available. So again, back to that primitive world that we used to live in and function in, we will retain our body as a mechanism of supporting us. So do have a think about that. It is really worth reconsidering if you're not eating enough to really look. Thank you so much for joining us. We've really run out of time here. Any last words from you, Sam? It's been lovely to have a big crowd here today. Sam, over to
Yes. It's been some great questions. Thank you so much. We're back. We're here every week. Raman, thank you for supporting us.
you. Yeah,
Please do pop on the link for upcoming webinars where people can sign up. Also, we'd love to get some feedback from you if you've enjoyed it or if you have
also
suggestions for improvement. They are welcome. They are very welcome. So we want to make these as useful for you guys as possible because Ruth and I have been in the same boat. So, you know, and we continue to
absolutely
be in the same boat.
in that way.
I'm still in that boat. So yeah, it's just
I'm paddling.
yes, yes, but we're getting somewhere, you know, we're making progress together and we know how helpful it can be to feel that we're not on our own in that blooming boat, that the boat is well manned. And yeah, we are yeah, we're on this journey together. So thank you for your excellent questions and participation. It's yeah, a privilege to be able to host these webinars and long may they continue.
Absolutely. All right. Take care, everyone. Have great weeks. Let us know next week how you got on this week. This isn't a competition, it's your journey. Don't forget to paddle your own boat, I think. Take care.
Yes.
Bye.
Take care all.